Hello, I'm Ali B, and you're watching the Ali B Show here on Vacaville Public Access TV. Hopefully you guys know this, but we have a lot of creative and talented people here in Vacaville. And I thought, you know what better way than to bring one of those individuals here on the Ali B Show. The person you'll meet today can get you intrigued with his video technique. He can get you hopping out of your seat with his action films. And he's the man behind his own production company called Choker Films. So what's his name? Well, his name is Rick Johnson, and we have him here on the show today. Hello, Rick. So I appreciate you coming out on the Ali B Show today. So, I mean, I want to definitely thank you for letting us into your Choker Films domain. I see a lot of pictures around and a lot of, memorabilia of what you do. But can you kind of explain what is Choker Films? Is it a one-man production company? What is it?
We have a couple employees, but it's mainly Choker Films is a multimedia service provider.
Okay. And so what kind of films can people expect to come out of Choker Films?
Everything. Oh.
Everything.
Yeah, we're willing to tackle everything pretty much. We like to do sci-fi, kind of thriller, suspense films mainly. But,
okay.
We'll tackle anything.
Okay, so you do a variety of different genres, but sci-fi is that what your focus is?
Yeah, Choker Films, I prefer sci-fi myself. Choker Films is pretty much, video production of pretty much any sort. We don't shoot any weddings. But we do a lot of corporate, a lot of business stuff, and then the films is kind of something that we do on our own on the side.
So I got to ask, well, why don't you film weddings?
That's just not my forte.
So it's not your thing, right?
No. There's plenty of wedding videographers out there to go ahead and take care of those needs, but there's not a lot of video guys that can specialize in certain other things.
Right. And so you're certain
we specialize in those things that the wedding videographers don't specialize in.
Oh, okay. So you try to segregate yourself just a little bit just to show that you guys have a specialty that's different, it's unique.
Yeah, there's not another production house in Vacaville that's producing any kind of independent films right now. Choker Films is where it's at.
So you guys are the only ones in Vacaville?
We're the premier.
The premier ones. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're going to get into
I haven't heard or seen of anybody else.
Right,
so.
You haven't. And that's why we have you on this show, because you are one of the unique ones out. So, we'll get into some of the different films that you're talking about, the independent ones, a little bit later. But I just want to know, so if somebody's sitting down, they're saying, okay, I'm watching Choker Films, they're expecting to see something that's sci-fi related. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily, because Killing Time that we did is not sci-fi at all. It's just, that's what I kind of like personally. Mm-hmm. Right. But I'm willing to tackle everything, of course.
Right.
Drama, comedy. But the things that I've wrote and produced so far have a little bit of sci-fi to them.
Right.
At least Attrition, definitely Resurrection. But Killing Time is, contemporary.
Right.
And that's more of a thriller suspense, and there is absolutely no sci-fi.
Definitely thriller.
Yeah, there's absolutely no sci-fi in Killing Time. So.
Right. Okay, and I definitely, the first question that I came up with when I was thinking Choker Films, where did the name Choker come from? And the logo?
And the logo?
And the logo.
A friend of mine drew the logo for me.
Okay.
Choker's just something we thought up top of our heads because it sounded original. Right.
Does it play any relation into you as a producer, as, part of the work that you do? Do you do kind of more out-of-the-box, spontaneous? Because that's what I think of when I see your logo. I see something that's spontaneous. You don't see it around.
Yeah.
You'll never see a logo like that for a production company. Does that kind of relate to the films that you produce?
Well, maybe it relates to me personally.
Or you personally?
I'm very aggressive.
Okay.
So, I go after it. When I see it, I grab it and go after it.
Right.
So you snatch up your audience with Choker Films. So that's pretty much what the logo is.
Right. That makes sense. That's why I always ask, where did that come from? So with all the work that you do, are you influenced by other movies that you see out?
I think everybody is.
You think so?
Everybody's
it plays
influenced
a relation
by what they see and what they hear. Everybody's influenced. So yeah, of course.
Yeah. And is it a combination of you being influenced by other movies, or would you say that you're also influenced by personal experience?
Both.
Maybe both?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so give us an example. What is a film, short film, even show that kind of impacts you and your work and how you think creatively?
Oh, I've always liked Stanley Kubrick's, 2001 and Space Odyssey. Growing up as a kid, I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why I kind of like the sci-fi genre.
Right.
Is, you know, you kind of escape. Everybody's stuck in reality, their own
True.
reality, right?
True.
And sometimes you just get tired of that. So maybe that's why I like to drift into sci-fi.
Right.
You know,
So
get into a different reality that's
makes sense.
Yeah, completely not the norm.
Right.
You know?
And when people watch something, they're usually watching something that can take them away from the stresses
They want
of
to
work
go on an adventure,
Right.
and they want to follow a story.
Right.
Yeah.
So you growing up as a kid, explain to me a little bit. So you would watch sci-fi. That was your...
No television when I was a kid.
No television.
Well, you know, we
That's
had 3
interesting.
stations. I lived out in the country.
Yeah.
I've grown up on a ranch here in Vacaville, just
Okay,
north of town. Been here my whole
growing
life.
and raised.
Grown and raised in Vacaville, except
Yeah.
for the time I spent in the Army. And then
Okay.
I spent a couple years in Southern California after I got out of the Army working for Shepherd Decorating Company, which was, we used to set up the trade shows for all the movie production houses.
Right.
TriStar Pictures and MGM and all that stuff. All the trade shows like at the Beverly Hilton, you know.
Right.
So I got a little taste of the film industry back then. And then now I found myself kind of back into it, you know, these days.
But I want to go back a little bit. You said that you grew up with no television.
I was on a ranch by myself. It was just me and my father growing up,
Yeah.
and he worked all the time. There was no friends out there. There was no one near us at the time that lived out there.
Right.
So I had to keep myself occupied.
Right. So it was mainly, would you say, imagination? You just
Yeah, imagination. I guess that's where my imagination kind of grew from, was me being, you know, by myself on the ranch most of the time, just taking care of the cattle, you know, the chickens, turkeys, the ranch itself, you know. That was my responsibilities as a kid. So
would you say that...
I had to find an outlet.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Okay, so would you say that the types of movies that you make now, do you see a relation between you as a boy and being imaginative and the, you know, the creativity that you use within your films?
Most of them are all kind of, like Resurrection is kind of based on a little bit of my backstory. It was kind of based like on a mission that I would take in the Army, and then I just kind of elaborated on it. You know, Killing Time is maybe the you know, the scary side of me. You know.
Definitely.
And it kind of comes out through that film, how I wrote it and how we shot it and everything. You know. And Attrition is just pretty much off the cuff. I had an idea, and I sat down and kind of jotted it out, talked to a few of my friends and everything, and said, yeah, let's make that one. You know, it'd be nice to make that one. So we shot that one.
So you in the Army, you weren't doing film work in the Army, is that where you...
No, weapons and communications
that's
specialist.
definitely... And so I was watching Killing Time, and I actually didn't even make it through the whole movie, because I'm a scaredy cat, so I couldn't handle it. But is that... Did the military life, does that play effect sometimes when you watch movies like that? No? It's completely different, completely separate. So after the Army, how did you get into film work? How did that segue over?
It was, I guess, a really slow process. I always wanted to make movies when I was a kid.
Okay.
And my friend had a little camera, and we used to always do these little fight scenes, and you know, beat each other up and stuff like that. And but after the service, and then after working for Shepherd Decorating Company, I moved back up here, and started my own gunsmithing business. I was a federally firearms licensed dealer for a long time, and at the same time, I went to work for the IBEW as an electrician. And I did that for a long time, and on the side I've always been a photographer. I've been taking pictures, you know, my whole life, and I've always had some kind of video camera around the house. My father come down with cancer. He was diagnosed with cancer. And at that time, I retired from being an electrician and opened up another business called Gray Ghost Publications, and I was doing a quarterly hunting journal. I would write and produce, and we'd go out and, you know, show people how to hunt and how to skin, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm an outdoors kind of guy.
Right.
And I kind of stopped doing that because I was taking care of my father quite a bit. And so while he was, you know, while we were taking care of him, while he was passing, per se, I got pretty depressed, so I wrote this script called Resurrection. Okay. And a lot of people read it and really liked it, and it kind of convinced me to go ahead and make a film out of it. So that's what we did.
And what is Resurrection? What is that?
What's it about?
Yeah, what is Resurrection about?
It's about a commander who's having a real bad day. He's been ordered to go on a mission that he thinks is a complete mockery. You know, he's been ostracized by everybody else he's been around. So he's sent on this mission to go find this artifact that could turn the tide in the war and actually help them win the war. Unbeknownst to him, though, that the special sect that's been sent with him have been ordered to kill him once he finds and discovers the artifact.
Oh, wow.
And the closer that he gets to the artifact, he realizes it's not what they seem it is. You know, it holds a really deep, dark secret. And that's pretty much the film.
So is it a lot of action with, you know, people, I'm assuming,
It's a
trying
mix
to
of,
kill him
let's say,
run after him?
it's a mix of Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
How about that? You know.
So it's a merger of those
Yeah,
worlds.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like you said, that was your release for what you were
Yeah, I
going through
wrote
at
that.
time.
Yeah. I wrote Resurrection while my dad was, you know, while he was having his trial with his battle with cancer.
Right, right. And so your first gig, when you went ahead and you left the Army and you wanted to pursue something in film, you mentioned that you were doing a couple things after the Army. What was it like? I mean, was it an instant, I mean, you liked filming when you were a kid, but now that you were actually trying to pursue something in filming, how was that transition? Did you ever...
It's a long and hard process,
Right.
you know. I think if you have a kid that you notice that they have an inclination or they have something they like to do, you should nourish it. You know, my dad had no idea.
Right.
You know, so now this kind of resurfaced years later.
Right.
You know, from my childhood again, you know, after he had passed or whatever.
So was it one of those things where it's like, okay, I know this is definitely what I want to do for the rest of my life? Or was it kind of shaky where it's like, I don't know?
Well, I've done a lot of things. I've been an electrician.
Right.
You know, I've been in the Army. I've been a gunsmith and a weapons dealer, a writer as well. But I like it probably the best out of everything I've done so far.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of propelled you to just kind of pursue it
Well,
full-fledged.
running a film crew is kind of like being a former electrician.
Yeah.
You know, I was in charge of multi-million-dollar jobs for the Union, building bridges, highways, and BART. So me, you know, running a crew is no different than that.
So you pretty much took the skills that you had kind of fostered in these different career fields and used that to play a role in how you are as a producer then.
And director, yeah.
And director. That is.
I've always been the guy in charge wherever I was at. So coming for directing, it's right there for you.
Right.
You know, you don't have to try to fill the shoes. I've already got them on.
Right.
Yeah, I've been directing people for my whole life. Now I'm just happening to direct them in film. But I'm not a stickler as far as a director saying you have to do it this way. Normally I let the actors go ahead and just run with it. And if I don't like it, that's the only time I'll come in and say, well, that's not really working for me. Could you try it this way?
Right.
Other than that, I like the actors to be actors and just run with it. You know, go with their ideas, see how it's going to, see how it's flying, and then you make little corrections if you need to.
So you would give people...
I'm not a micromanaged kind of person, you know.
Right.
You know.
Right. So you definitely gave that freedom for people to express
Run with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
just run with it, yeah.
And kind of learn while you... But I think one of the main questions I have, so after the Army, you came back to Vacaville.
No, I moved to Southern California,
Okay.
Los Angeles for a couple of years before migrating back up here.
Okay, because when you think filming, you think Hollywood. Why did
That's where
you
everything's
bring
at.
your career to Vacaville instead of staying in Southern California
Well,
and LA?
at the time I had no career. I just got out of the Army.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I met my future wife in Southern California.
Okay.
We dated a couple of years before we got married down there. And it was really hard to make ends meet and make enough money down there, believe it or not. So I had the opportunity to get hired on with the union up here. So I grabbed it, you know, moved up here and, you know, did the responsible thing. Bought a house up here, have a lovely wife, 3 great children. And now it's time for me to get my childhood back.
Right.
So here we are.
Okay, so that's so coming
This
back
is fun for me.
Right.
You know, it's difficult. It's a big challenge, but it's also fun at the same time.
So let's talk about what makes it difficult as far as filming and being a director. How is it actually filming in Vacaville? I mean, what are the pros and cons? Vacaville is a great city, but as a filmmaker, as a director, what are the challenges that come with filming here?
You know, finding, I guess, good people to cast in your films and, you know, people to give you a hand, whether it be a gaffer or an audio guy or a boom operator, you know. That's the main thing. I know there's a small film community in Vacaville, but they kind of like stay separate, you know. And a lot of times you need to actually kind of pool your resources to be able to get an independent film done. And if the other independent filmmakers don't work together, they're always, you know, doing their own thing. And everybody needs to do their own thing. But it would be nice if they had some way to come together to get projects done here in Vacaville. instead of trying to tackle it on their own, because it's really hard to do it all by yourself.
Right.
You got to have some help there somewhere.
So is that something where somebody would have to step up and say, hey, you know, let me reach out to other production companies and kind of merge us all together?
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of people that want to do short films here in Vacaville, or even feature films, but they just don't have the resources or the capabilities to do it.
Right. And we'll get into some of the resources and, you know, what Vacaville has to offer. But as far as, you know, gaining that exposure, I mean, when you do make a short film and it's ready, it's complete, it's done, I mean, people would assume if you're in LA, hey, that'd be easy to just kind of, you know, get that viewer range. But here in Vacaville, how do you do that?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
How do you do that in Vacaville? I mean, is there film festivals? Is there things where you can kind of...
There's a film festival here in Vacaville, but there's film festivals all over across the nation,
right.
Of course, you know. Yeah. And a lot of people, it takes money to submit your film to a festival,
right.
You know.
Okay. And you've tried one of the film festivals here in Vacaville?
I've submitted Killing Time to several film festivals. Baycon accepted it and watched it and played it, you know. I sent it to Vacaville, but Vacaville's film festival is really family oriented. So I believe that he really didn't care for the language in the film.
Right. And you're not willing to compromise, you know, what you want creatively to...
Well, you know, we made Killing Time just like anybody else would make a flick, and we didn't even really consider the dialogue, you know. I figured that, you know, there's going to be a few F-bombs, I guess, if you're getting hung by a noose.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't like it, but it's realistic.
Right.
You know, the cussing it is not out of place. There's a reason and a rhyme for it, you know. But maybe they didn't like it, you know. Not everybody's going to like what you make either.
Right. Right, that's true. And you know what? Vacaville has a lot of great locations. We have mountains, we have different landscapes, different sceneries. How does that, do you use that in your films? Do you often film out on different locations?
Vacaville's nice to film in during the springtime before it all gets burnt out.
So it's
before
better
it gets all, you know, brown looking and the fire hazard goes real, you know, real sky high or whatever. But
where have you filmed in Vacaville?
mostly out of my ranch.
Okay. Okay, so you have your own private lot where you can go ahead.
Yes, yeah, we got 20 acres and it's got a barn and a house on it. But yeah, north of town here. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And have all your short films come out of that ranch or?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. So for other filmmakers that are trying to film in Vacaville, do you know if there's any type of like red tape you gotta cross just to get Vacaville to be willing to let you out on certain properties? Is there anything like that?
You're gonna have to pull permits if you do certain things.
Okay.
But most of the time you can get away with not having the permits, yeah.
Right.
As long as you got permission to be there. If you're on public property and your costumes aren't too elaborate and you don't have a bunch of, let's say, fake weapons running around, guys running around with guns and stuff like that, then you won't have a problem. But you know, you start pulling out, if you want to do a cop movie or a detective movie and you got a lot of gunplay, you'll probably have to pull permits or go film somewhere where it's private, and so you don't have to deal with that situation.
Right. Okay, so we know kind of where you like to film, but how...
Oh, I film everywhere.
You film everywhere.
Resurrection was filmed not only pieces on my ranch, because the barn, we have a nice big barn and we converted that into a big cave studio.
Oh, wow.
And we did some stuff outside there, but we filmed Resurrection all over Northern California, all the way up to the Oregon border.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's where the Modoc National Monument is for the lava tubes and caves. So we did a lot of filming up there in actual caves, lava tubes.
So while you were writing the script for Resurrection, did you have to kind of think and anticipate, okay, this scene calls for this, so let's film here?
No. When you write a story, you just write what's ever on your mind. You have to take care of whether you can do that later. You know, there's a lot in Resurrection that I wrote that we couldn't do, and had to be modified. Things had to be switched around because it was such a big project. You know, but you don't want to limit yourself when you go to write. You know, you might have to limit yourself when you go do the production.
Right.
You might not have the monies or the resources to be able to do what you wrote. So you'll have to be able to think on your feet and change it up and make it work.
Okay. And so you said Resurrection, that was filmed all over.
All over.
What about Attrition and Killing Time?
Attrition was filmed mostly in Mendocino National Park, or not park, but Mendocino National Forest, up at a place called Lower Nye. San Francisco was another location, and Knoxville, north of Lake Berryessa, was another location. So those were the 3 locations for attrition.
For attrition, and what about Killing Time?
Killing Time was done mostly at Cache Creek, and then shot here in Vacaville, and then out at my ranch as well.
Okay. So with the different films, from beginning to end, that's a long process that you're talking. From writing it, to shooting it, to getting everything ready and actually producing the. How long does it take to do one of your films? They're called short, but
well, Resurrection is a full length. It took me about a year to write that one. It took about a year to build all of the costumes and the props for Resurrection.
Right.
And then it took several years to film it.
Oh gosh.
Killing Time, on the other hand, was shot in 11 days. Okay, and Attrition was shot in 4.
So the funny thing about Killing Time was where did the title come from? I want to hear, where did that.
Well, we were having trouble making Resurrection. There's a lot of visual effects in Resurrection, and as everybody knows, those take a long time to do. Right. So pretty much I was killing time working on Resurrection.
Right.
So that's where the title come from.
Right. Because you were working
we were kind of bored. I've been working on Resurrection for a long time, and I wanted to put something else out there. We wanted to film another project. Right. So I wrote the script up pretty quick, and cast it, and then we went and shot it.
Yeah. So from when you're working on Attrition and Resurrection, which are longer projects, is that a way to kind of keep your momentum going? Kind of keep being creative?
You'll get burnt out if you work on just one thing
project
all the time.
I can imagine.
Especially me. I'll just get burnt out and I got to jump around a little bit. I'll work on this for a little while, and then I'll work on that for a little while. Come back to this.
So how do you stay organized? How do you know, okay, this is the time for it?
It's all up here.
Nothing written. You don't write anything down saying, okay, let me do this.
No, I write stuff down, but I got a pretty good memory.
All right.
Yeah.
So is it easy to get kind of caught up in one movie and have that drag on for, a long period of time if you're not organized, if you don't?
Well, yeah, if you let it.
Right. I could imagine. So that's where Killing Time came in, and you kind of use that as a way to kind of get away from the other one you were working on, do something else.
Well, I'd like to shoot a film every year. That, would be nice.
Right.
Of course, that hasn't happened. It's about every 2.1 years that we're shooting a film right now.
Yeah.
2 years, 10 months pretty much is on average we'll put one out, if you want to do the math.
Yeah. But, as far as when you're on set, you said you had to build props, all this different stuff, the preparation.
Donato, my right-hand man, Donato Kakuza has been with me forever. We've known each other since 1998.
Wow.
And he got into the film with me and helped me out. And it was pretty much Donato and I that built everything for all the films so far. Right. All the costumes, all the props, all the sets, everything for every film that him and I work on together. Yeah. Wow.
So as far as shooting, what are some of the equipment that you use? I mean, what are your tools of the trade?
I'm kind of partial to the Sony cameras, I have a Panasonic too, but I like the Sony, high-def cameras.
Right. If somebody was starting out, they're basic, they're new, they said, hey, I want to explore this interest of mine.
And just see if they like it.
Just to see if they like it. What are some of the things that they're going to need to produce something that's decent? I mean, it's their first time.
A good camera that's high def, 1920 by 1080 at least, It's got 3 CCDs in it, a lav mic and a UV filter.
And that's it.
Run off and go.
Yeah.
The rest you'll pick up later.
All right. Okay. And what about?
that's your main gorilla outfit right there.
Right. If you got those 3 elements, you can do
yourself
whatever.
a good lav mic, a UV lens for your camera, and a good camera, and just run with it.
Right. So you're basically covering the 3 basic things: camera, audio, light.
Well, the light is the UV filter is just to help produce a better picture for you from the camera.
No, okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning.
You should always, anytime you buy a new camera, new piece of equipment, you should always, especially a camera, whether it's a digital camera or a little DSLR, you should always put a UV filter on it. That's the first thing you should do when you buy it. Get it out of the box, put the UV filter on there, and it never comes off.
Yeah.
Just leave it there. Well, that way it also protects the original lens from getting scratched or dust. Or, all the lighting. Lighting's a very technical thing, and that takes time to develop and learn how to light your scenes and your sets and stuff like that. But for the person who's just on the go doing it outside, you'll have pretty much all the light you need from the outside available light.
Right. And that's interesting that you said that lighting could take a while, because I mean, you're a director.
There's a lot to lighting.
There's a lot to lighting, and there's a lot to audio, and there's a lot to camera work. Everything can be subdivided. How do you attack all of those things? If you're trying to get into, this industry, you're trying to be a filmmaker, director, how do you attack? Do you try and attack everything? Do you learn it in pieces?
Most people are going to try to find people who specialize in those certain fields.
Okay.
I like to specialize in everything.
Everything.
The house that you're sitting in right now, I built.
That's just your personality.
I can physically do anything that I put my mind to. I've always been able to either read it or see someone do it and then do it like that.
And be able to reiterate it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just your personal skill of being able to.
Well, growing up with my dad's pretty tough. He was probably more tough than the Army ever was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, So what I learned from him. I learned the work ethic from him. Never do anything half-assed. Always give it your best shot.
Right. Was he a man also like yourself who was able to do everything, just kind of tackle?
He was pretty much a mountain man.
Yeah?
Yeah, he had a big old burly beard. And we spent a lot of time hunting and fishing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what we did every weekend. It's either
Right.
we were either hunting or fishing. We'd go to Colorado. We'd go to Alaska, Nevada, Utah. During the week, he was a different guy.
Yeah.
He was your company man because he was an electrician as well. Worked
Oh,
for
okay.
the same contractor for over 30 years out of Vallejo.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he had the business side, but then he had his hobbies too that he took seriously.
Well, he loved to hunt and fish.
Yeah?
Yeah.
As do
he was
you?
he was a nice guy on Saturdays and Sundays, but he was a bear to live with Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Is that the same for you? Are you hard on your staff Monday through Friday? Be honest.
I can be.
So you expect a lot. That's just coming from you expect a lot and you want to put out quality work.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could believe in, if it comes down to it, you'd rather produce one solid quality thing than to have 10 things out that people can see.
Yeah.
That's your mentality?
I'd rather wait 7 or 8 years so the movie looks just awesome and then just try to hurry and just get it done within just a few months.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes sense.
I'd rather just take the long haul and get it done the right way the first time.
Definitely makes sense. So going back to some of the equipment, now what can we expect for advanced players? Let's say you got a director or, a filmmaker who's advanced. They know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything unique that you use? Any kind of special? You don't have to give out all your secrets, but is there anything special?
I don't think there's really any secrets to of the industry, the film industry. Anybody who's in it knows all the equipment pretty much. It's just the people that are out of that don't really realize what you use. Other production companies got probably the same, if not more, than what we have here at Choker Films. I would not be surprised. Now, as far as in Vacaville, I say we're probably outfitted the best in Vacaville. Between Vacaville, Vallejo, here in Sacramento, we probably got the best equipment.
Oh, wow. Okay, and you mentioned the industry.
Well, we have all kinds of apparatuses to use,
Right.
and we'll show you some of that in a few clips and stuff, of course.
Right, of course.
Dollies, glide cam,
So
jib arm and crane, we got all kinds of stuff.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And Donato, he even builds apparatus for us to mount the cameras to cars or whatever we want to mount it to.
Right, and we got to show some of that stuff. I know on one of your cameras, you got something that you built. You actually kind of...
we build a lot of our own gear because it's cost effective that way.
Yeah. I could imagine so.
I mean, to me, as a gunsmith, I used to build custom firearms, hunting rifles for years. I'm a machinist. I can operate a lathe, pretty much anything. So when it comes to seeing a piece of apparatus, as long as I can see it, I can duplicate it.
Right. So cameras is nothing then.
Well, if you build a camera, it might be a little bit different.
Guns, it might not.
Yeah. If I can, yeah.
So you mentioned the industry though. How tough is the industry for people who want to get into this? How tough is the film industry?
Absolutely steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So explain what do you mean by steep?
It's going to be very, very difficult. I know a lot of people that are trying to break into the industry, whether it be acting or directing or writing, and the competition is high.
Right.
So you better have your game.
Right.
If you don't have your game, you're just going to get left in the wind.
Right. So you pretty much got to be studying on this stuff, researching how to be better.
Yeah,
trying to push yourself.
You always want to be educating yourself.
Right.
You don't know, I don't know everything.
Right.
No one does. Right. But you want to continue to educate yourself as you progress.
Right.
Especially as your skills progress. Because that's the only way your skills will actually progress and you'll get better is you need to continually educate yourself.
Right.
Read as many articles as you can about filmmaking. And go from there.
So that's the best way to learn. Before you buy all the fancy equipment and put money into the equipment, you need to learn actually what you're doing with it and kind of study up on it, because if you're thinking about it seriously, it's a tough industry
to
get into.
You'll get caught up, you'll get discouraged. So, you know, you better have a
It's
thick skin,
right.
because there's a lot of rejection.
Right. And have you experienced
that? Not everybody's going to like everything that you do, of course. Yeah. Everybody in the film industry is going to be rejected at some point in time.
And you got some tough critics out there. So how do you handle that? How do you handle that when you put out something?
Like a duck in water. You just let it roll off.
Really?
Yeah.
So you spent, let's say, 3-4 years on a project. You put it out. You're proud of it. This is something you're passionate about, and you get rejected, or you get critics that say, oh, you know.
Yeah, but as long as you feel good about the project,
right,
and the people that were with you feel good about the project, then it's worth it.
Right, and most importantly, you gotta love this. You really good, because it's a risk.
Oh yeah, it's a big risk.
If you're trying to make money off of it, that's a risk. And you know, if you're trying to be the one that's going to get all the glory, you're not always going to get all the glory and all the, you know, all the big things with it. So I could imagine that the industry is very tough.
Yes,
so,
very, very steep.
Yeah. With the cost situation, I know that you also have the business side to Choker Films.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit, about, you know, some of the equipment that you guys rent out and what that business side is like?
I don't ever have to rent out any equipment right now. I got pretty much what we need.
Right. But for other people who want equipment, but they're saying, hey, you know, this is costing a lot. Could they come to, you know, Choker Films and say, hey, you know, can I borrow some equipment? Can I borrow something?
I'm more than open to help another independent filmmaker.
Right. And it's more cost effective that way for the other person.
Yeah.
So that's your way of kind of giving back to.
You can kind of combine resources and ideas that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus the other business side is you're doing commercials too, or you have done commercials. So you go out, do you do anything for the city?
We filmed the Vacaville's Fiesta Days for the Fiesta Days people for Vacaville. We've done a lot of work for Fairfield Sassoon Sewer District, the American Taekwondo Association, Jericho Mechanical, Integrated Comfort. These are all like construction design companies.
Right.
Tri-City Signals, Desert Design, Travis Air Force Base.
Right.
It just goes all over. We've done a lot of video for a lot of people. It's business sides, you know, a lot of corporate training and seminars, HR videos, promotion videos. So that's the business side of Choker Films.
Right. And so that's a way that somebody who's trying to pursue filming, you know, can also generate money. It's just by going out there and trying to get involved and trying to offer
services. They might want to go
services.
film some wedding videos.
Hey, that's not what you want to do. But,
no, but there's plenty of guys out there.
But there's plenty of people that can.
I'm not knocking wedding videographers at all.
No, I understand.
They're needed.
Right.
People need to have their wedding videos, you know, that special once-in-a-lifetime occasion,
right.
you know.
Right.
As long as you don't get divorced 4 or 5 times,
Oh,
right?
gosh.
That might get a little expensive. But, you know, yeah, there's a need for that, and it's being filled. There's a need for what we do at Choker Films. There's not another production house in Vacaville that does any kind of compositing at all, like special effects, visual effects. Well, what if you want lightsabers or a spaceship? Or you want the guy's head to blow off of his shoulders? I don't know of anybody else in Vacaville that does that besides Choker Films.
Wow. And so one of your short films that you're actually working on the getting the video, the animation, and all that together. How long does that take to actually get that?
Well, the special effects for not killing time, but attrition has taken me about 8-9 months to pretty much complete. We shot the film in 4 days, but the visual effects are taking 8-9 months.
Right. And you do everything with the editing and all that.
Yes, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I do all the filming, all the editing, all the compositing.
So is it the editing that creates what actually is in your head, or is it the shooting and the material? I don't know if that question makes sense.
No, what you try to do is it's already in your head,
right?
And you're trying to translate it into film or video. You're trying to capture what you see in your head so other people can see exactly what you're thinking. That's the whole principle.
And then the edit is just that finishing polish where you can get everything to kind of flow and make sure that,
Well, the magic happens in editing, but a lot of the magic happens on set too. You can go ahead and add in spaceships in editing, but you won't be able to get all those emotions in editing, not unless they actually took place while you're actually shooting the film.
Right. So I could imagine like doing something that's 3D. That takes a lot of time as well, just to get those type of different features and effects and whatnot.
That's pretty much all compositing visual effects. Right. Yeah, that's
so you could
kind of all wrapped up into one.
Right. You could go to school just trying to learn animation and editing. Wow. And you guys do it all here?
All here.
Wow.
Everything's done in-house.
In-house. Wow, that's
like
amazing.
I said, if you're looking for costumes or props, we even do that as well.
Oh wow! So you can take care of everything finished. I mean, from beginning
From conception
end.
to distribution.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's what makes you guys unique here. Not only your style and what type of films you like to do, but also that you can actually do everything. Anything that somebody can sit there and say, wow, I really want to do this. You guys can actually put it together.
Yeah, we take pride that we can do everything in-house. Yeah, that we don't have to shop around for anybody. We used to have to do that, but it's gotten to the point now that we can do everything in-house now, which is really nice.
Yeah. And you have the staff that's here that can actually...
Well, me and Donato, it's like a two-man production.
Oh, it's a two-man production. So
pretty much, yeah.
You guys do everything.
We do everything.
Just the two of you. And we gotta get a shot of Donato here.
Yeah, I'm sure I got plenty of pictures of Donato. He's a little camera shy.
Yeah, that's okay. But also, okay, so what do you see for the future of Choker Films? What's
more
your
movies.
goal?
Oh, more movies. We're gonna do more movies.
Right. Yeah. So we can expect to see some of your movies actually.
Well, that, and I also act on the side as well. I have another film that's coming out that I didn't write, direct, or produce called Hellmen of Agency 9, and I play a CIA agent in there, Agent Jackson, and I think that's going to come out in the next month or two. Okay. And we'll show you a clip of that one.
Yeah, we definitely got to do that. Definitely got to do that. So you do acting on the side, so you go out and audition
I don't mind acting. I kind of like acting, but I don't like to act and direct at the same time.
Okay. Because that's too much going on. To get behind the camera and make sure that things are going right, and then to be in front.
To actually do a good job as an actor, you just want to concentrate on that.
Right.
So if you want to give the people the best performance that you can, your head has to be on the acting and not what's going on behind the cameras. Right. So you need to be able to focus.
And are you in any of your own films?
I'm not in Attrition.
Okay.
That was a project that I did not want to be in front of the camera. I just wanted to be behind the camera.
Just focus on
and everything that you see in Attrition was filmed by myself and no other.
Oh wow.
Resurrection, I'm in Resurrection.
Okay, so you have to wear both hats of actor,
and director, and writer on that.
And
one.
writer.
Yeah. Because I wrote all three of them so far.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Okay, and you got more coming.
More coming. We got Desolation, which is another. That's like a zombie kind of movie. Okay. Ares 395 is another sci-fi film that takes place in deep space. Yeah. So is Apophis. This is another sci-fi film that I've been writing as well. Okay, yeah, so I have a lot of sci-fi stuff. Yeah.
Right, that are coming.
I see a lot of sci-fi stuff
right now. Okay. And so, what do you, as a director who's been doing this for a long period of time, for many years, what do you see as the great characteristics that make a good film?
The story. The story is everything to me.
Story is everything.
Not the effects. The effects are just icing on the cake. They're really just there to try to help tell your story. They're not there to tell your story. They're just there to help tell it.
Right.
So the story is everything.
Right.
If the story's not there, sorry, you probably won't have a good film. It's got to have some heart. It's going to have some character in it.
So you believe that the one thing that gets to audience members is knowing what's going on.
The story is everything. And
that story that drags you
That's
in.
the whole purpose of shooting a film. You're trying to capture the story.
And so that being the main characteristic, is that what you're always reminded of when you're writing and when you're actually in the production stages of, making a film? You're always thinking, okay, I got to get the story right. I got to get it so that audience members can understand. So the camera is just a way to just take what you see and relay it to an audience.
Relate it. Like I was saying earlier, whatever you see, the story that you see in your mind, in your head, you're trying to lay that out for other people to see it the way you see it.
Right.
So that's where the filming and the editing comes in. You're trying to parlay your message to your viewers that way.
Right. What's been your favorite film, short film, anything that you produce? What has been your favorite thing to actually produce and make?
Attrition.
So far? Attrition?
Yeah.
And what makes Attrition the main one, the headliner before everybody else?
We pretty much got to the point now where we've refined the process to where when we go out and shoot it, it doesn't take very long to get what we need and get out of there.
Okay.
I guess I like attrition mostly is I was behind the camera the whole time.
That can't be the reason. Is that the reason? Or
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
because you were able to sit back and just say, okay, I'm going to be the director, and that's it, nothing else?
No, attrition was really smooth. I mean, Killing
Yeah.
Time was really smooth too. Resurrection was a little bumpy
Yeah.
because that was our first film. You know,
Okay.
it was kind of like biting off more than you could chew.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me, well, why'd you pick Resurrection, first, Rick? Why didn't you do something smaller?
Right.
And I said, well, why? Why do you ask the guy who climbed Mount Everest? Why'd you climb the mountain? Because I wanted to see if I could do it.
Right.
So that's the answer I give him.
Right. So
I bit off so much that I'd have to force myself to learn everything and to get it done.
So that was your technique of
It was a
learning how
huge
to-
challenge. I like challenges. I really, really do. Yeah, they're very time-consuming challenges. Difficult, arduous at times.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I chose to do Resurrection, because it was such a big, monumental task to try to get done. And these other ones have been simple in comparison.
Yeah. So I would expect that since you like challenges, you're going to try and push the envelope again and take on even bigger, challenge coming up here soon.
Yes.
You got something coming that's going to be, I can just imagine, because most people who like, challenges, they're always pushing the envelope on something.
Mm-hmm.
So I could expect that maybe.
If it's not difficult, it's not worth doing.
Hey, that's a
Just
good
the
motto
way it
to
goes.
keep. That's a good motto to keep. Yeah. So where would you like to see your films go? I mean, just as your main objective, when you were thinking back and you said, oh man, this would be a dream of mine to see, what is that dream?
I'm not really concerned where they go, as long as we're happy, the people that are making them, meaning me and the cast and crew and my friends, as long as we're happy with the final product, then who cares what other people think, really, As long as I can continue to make my little films my way, then I'm happy.
Right.
Money's not everything in this world. Actually, it's the root of most evils.
You just wrapped it up for me.
What's that?
Just by saying that's what you enjoy and that's your passion. So you're really just doing this. It's not for money. It's not for anything else.
It's not for the money, because if you're looking to make money off of making movies, it may come to some people someday, but most of us, it's probably not. So you have to be satisfied and feel comfortable with what you're working on.
Right.
Make you happy.
Right.
Because if you can't make yourself happy first, you're not going to be able to make anybody else happy.
Right. And I believe that too. So, it's been a great pleasure being here and hearing about what you're so passionate about and what you do here at Choker Films. It's been an honor just being able to just sit down in your studio here where you spend a majority of your time or all your time.
Editing, yeah.
Editing, right. So, we'll definitely, bring the cameras around so you guys can see everything. But I just want to say thank you for letting us do this interview and see who Rick Johnson is, this man behind Choker Films. So it's been a great pleasure being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.